already logging in to join us for this webinar. I'm Chloe. I'm going to be the host of this webinar today, and we're just going to give people, because for those of you who've signed up in the UK, it's quite early in the morning. For those of you down in Australia, it's quite late in the evening. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes to get in. Whilst we're doing that, those of you who are already here, if you want to let me know what sort of products you sell in the chat box, that would be really interesting. So wherever you are in the world, what is it you sell via your e-commerce site? So just chuck that in the chat box, because I know we've got people from all over the world in here right now. We've got people from Italy, the UK, and Australia. So and Georgia too. That's very cool. Those of you who are in, if you want to just chuck in the chat box what product you sell, and then very shortly, once we've given people a couple of seconds just to get through all the tech and get in, we will get started. I can see there's a crazy amount of typing going on at the moment. Who have we got? We've got cosmetics. We've got supplements. So we're in the healthcare space so far. We've got a couple more answers coming through. Oh, fishing equipment and financial products in the UK. Wow, we've got a lovely range of different things today. So I think it's time we get started with helping all of you on how to improve those conversion rates. So what we're going to be doing today is this is one of our live Q&A webinars. Now, on the Keep Optimizing podcast, each month we focus on a different area of e-commerce marketing. This month we've done it, or in September, we did it a little bit differently. We looked at different ways to improve your conversion rates rather than purely focusing on getting the traffic to your website. So today we kind of wrap up our Improving Conversion Rates month with this expert panel Q&A webinar where we've got our guests from across the podcast episodes coming on to answer your questions and to answer my questions. Now, a word of warning for you. Often people wait until the very end of the webinar to ask their questions. Now, if you do that, you're probably not going to get your question answered because fundamentally we run out of time. So if you've got a question that maybe has been sparked by one of the episodes we've run, maybe something on customer personas, let's see, we covered UX tips for your home pages and navigation. We did on-site search. We looked at live chat and customer services. Any questions around those? Get them in right now. If you've got anything in the wider world of improving conversion rates, get it into that chat box where you've been entering what products you sell right now. And then I will drip those in. I'll get those answered by our team of panelists for you, because the sooner you get your question in, the more chance I have to get it answered for you. Okay, and I will try and make sure we cover all the questions in there. But if you all wait until 55 minutes past the hour, I just can't do it. It's just not possible. Okay, so questions in the chat box, please, everybody. So who are our guests today? Let me give you a rundown and then we'll meet them very soon. So she says, bringing up the wrong screen on her computer. There we go. Today's guests we've got three of them were on the podcast. So we've got Lucy Bloomfield of 10,000 Customers, who came on the podcast and talked about customer personas. Now, Lucy specializes in high-end luxury product businesses, helping Australian entrepreneurs how to sell them at volume, creating the whole ecosystem around the supply chain and sales to create more profitability than you had before. Who doesn't like the sound of that? If you want to know more about that, head to 10,000customers.com to learn more. We've also got Mogens Moller from Sleeknote, who has done that epic UX test, which he's then drilled down into a number of videos and then came on the podcast to talk about too. So you can grab those videos to see the full piece at sleeknote.com/240-user-tests. And if you want to find out more about Sleeknote, just head to sleeknote.com. We've also got Scarr, who's head of sales UK at Klevu. And Klevu is all about on-site search. And that's what Ian came on to talk to us about on the podcast. And you can get a free trial with Klevu at klevu.com. And then we have Louis Lavedan, who is standing in, thank you very much, Louis, for Lucas Walker, who can't join us today because of time zone issues. And so we have the amazing Louis joining us from Gorgias, who is who are all about live chat and customer comms and getting those customer comms just right so you convert those sales. If you want to know more about Gorgias, then drop yourself an email to louisl@gorgias, which is GORGIAS.com. And they've got a great offer in place for those of you who are on this webinar, which is a whole month free. Yes, a whole month free. And then there's me, your host, host of the Keep Optimizing and the eCommerce Masterplan podcast. And you can find out everything I'm up to via keepoptimizing.com. Right. I think now you know who our marvelous guests are. I think it's time we got them on and got them starting to answer some questions. So, Mogens, Lucy, Ian, Louis, where are you guys? Would you like to come and join me, please? Yay! Oh, it's always. I'm always slightly nervous at that moment. I know you're all perfectly capable of doing it. I know the tech's perfectly capable, but I'm always slightly nervous until you reappear. So, hello, everybody. How are you all?
Hi, Chloe. Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So, everyone at home should be able to see your names on the screen, but let's just quickly go, just like a one-liner, who you are, where you're from, and what your favourite thing is about conversion rates. So maybe I'll let you have 2 sentences each. Let's go to Mogens first.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, Mogens, your audio isn't working.
All right.
Oh, we've got it. Yay, we're back.
Great. Sorry, I only turned on the camera. So, Mogens Moller, CEO and co-founder of Sleeknote. We do pop-ups for e-commerce. And my favorite thing, we're from Denmark. My favorite thing about conversion optimization is doing usability testing.
And Louis.
Okay, so my name is Louis. As you can hear it, I'm based in France, and I'm strategic partner manager at Gorgias for Europe. And my favorite thing about conversion rate is to find the good mix between automation and empathy for customer service.
Oh, nice. I like that. Lucy, you're nodding. Do you want to give us your quick intro?
Yeah, my name is Lucy. I'm the director of 10,000 customers. And my favorite thing about CRO is that it's a never-ending iteration process. There's always more to improve.
I like that. That is, after all, what keep optimizing means. That's a perfect answer in my book. And last but not least, Ian, would you like to do your quick intro to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So Ian Scarr, Klevu, based in the UK. So we're search and navigation optimization. My favorite thing is delighting customers in their online experience.
Oh, I like it. Good answers all around there. So, audience, as I said, if you've got questions for the panel, then make sure you add those into the chat box, and I will do my best to get those questions answered for you. Where I want to start, though, is I want to kind of take a bit of a big picture-y thing, because right now it is, she says, looking at the calendar, it is the 7th of October. So we have, we're in Q4 already. Black Friday is less than 2 months away. The Christmas peak is already coming for businesses. I heard about someone yesterday who had, Ben, thank you for your question. We'll come on to that one very shortly. We've had lots of great, I've heard from a retailer yesterday that they sent an email out about their Christmas range and had their highest sales day ever, and they're now planning on probably cutting all Google ad spend for the rest of the quarter. So we're in crazy times. Is it still even worth talking about UX given we're in peak?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know who you ask or who you ask about it, but I can start out about that one with a very quick story here. I don't know how it is in other countries. I guess it's the same like in Denmark, but we can see in general that a lot of elderly people are shopping online now that they maybe haven't been before because they are at home and they don't want to get out in the shopping malls or the supermarkets and all that stuff. So I would say in general, a lot of new consumers are out there in the online stores and in online in general. So I would say even more, it makes even more sense now to focus on UX because you really wanted to make it extremely easy and intuitive and user-friendly to use your applications because so many new people are there actually. So that's one take on it at least.
Ian, I can see you are nodding away there.
Yeah, lots of. We host a system that tracks usage of people on a website. People are going to a search box. They're using that site. When the pandemic hit, we had an uplift by about 60% of usage on the platform in April, May, June, and July. That's maintained itself. And we had 2 peak days at the end of April and the end of May. In the UK, we had a furlough scheme for all the workers that were sort of not made redundant, but just sort of, put on furlough. And those first 2 paydays were actually higher than Black Friday last year from a usage perspective. So that's telling me that that's continuing. People have pivoted. Everyone's using the word pivot because it's a very relevant word nowadays. I think there's loads of these words that are coming into the sort of vocabulary. Everyone's pivoting online. If your user experience is not great, you're going to lose them, because especially if they're new users to online, so the older generation, they're generally going to want to come onto your site and find what they want and what they're looking for. And if they can't find that in a very intuitive way, they're going to go. And you've probably lost them forever. So if that's a 60% increase and you've lost 20-30% of that through poor UX, then you've lost those customers forever, especially if that's now the new norm. So absolutely, it's really important.
It's kind of that, it feels to me like we're at a moment where we have to kind of make a strategic decision as to whether or not we're going to try and convert as much of this new bump as possible and retain as much of it as possible, or whether we're just going to go, well, there's loads of it, so it'll be all right. And obviously, I think the clever businesses are doing the former, but it is a completely different customer mix. It's a hugely different people coming in, different age groups, different levels of happiness buying, comfortableness buying online. So I guess maybe for Lucy, I'm going to reframe the question a bit, which is, clearly we should still be working on UX, but I'm guessing there's parts that are going to be more useful to us right now than others. We're not talking about big code changes. We're probably talking about more clever iterations. Is that something you're finding, Lucy?
Yeah, and I think there's just a real subtle distinction that you need to make on what you said, which is, should we even bother with UX at peak time? We're not at peak time. This is not the peak time. This is actually kind of like a non-month, in my opinion, because if you play October really, really well, it actually stacks up every single month all the way through to January. So the stuff that they're seeing now, that's great. That means that they should keep going and they should keep spending more. That's sort of what I think about it.
And I agree with Lucy, because basically October is a good month to get ready for peak season, for holiday season. And so at Gorgias, as you might know it, we are help desk and live chat solution for customer service. And if we take the example of our 4,000 clients, 70% of customer requests are linked to shipping status, cancellation, and refund. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday is coming. So you have 2 options. So you can hire more people. So good luck. And the other option is to know how to segment your messages, how to automate, and all these basic questions. Because now, to be transparent, there is a lot of frustration online, because everybody in this weird period, everybody was anxious about delivery time, shipping status, etc. And now what is important is to be very reactive with your clients, to give a good user experience. Because if you have a bad experience with your customer service, you just need to Google the product and to find another product. And it's very, very important to be reactive and empathic with your clients and prospect as well.
Actually, Louis, that brings us on very nicely to the question that Ben's asked, which I'm going to rephrase slightly because it's quite long. But Ben, if I miss the point you were trying to ask when I rephrase this, then by all means, send us another message via the chat and I will try again. But I think, there's a lot of talk at the moment about automated chatbots, which obviously have an amazing space to be for reducing the load on customer service, for getting the answers of the commonly asked things to customers faster. But we've talked already about having an older demographic coming online or a different demographic coming on our sites. And if you've got those automations worked out for your existing customer base, and then a new customer base comes on, potentially you're sending them down a black hole of confusion because you should have a real human being dealing with their different questions. So what's the place for the automated side of on-site messaging? Louis, I have to ask this to you first.
So it's a very important question, because today chatbot automation is a very hot topic. But I think today what is important is to find the good mix between human agent and automation. Because for sure today we have wonderful technologies to analyze every messages we receive, to segment all your messages, to decrease resolution time on some questions. But just to give you an example, like 2 weeks ago, I bought cosmetics for 100 euros. So I didn't receive my order. So I asked, yes, I would like an update on my shipping status. And then they came back to me and say, hey, no worries, it's going to come in the coming days. Okay, it's very frustrating because I spent 100 euros on your website. So I would like you to know me. And today, okay, I saw it was like an automatic message. And it's a very bad experience because when I spend a lot of money on a website, I want you to know me because and if you don't have a good tool or a good way to segment your clients, your prospects, to be honest, is not going to be a good strategy at long term. So yes, just to sum up my answer. So yes, Ben, I think for sure automation and chatbot is a very hot topic. It's very important to find how you can decrease resolution time on very basic questions, but for sure you need to have a good customer service team, to have a good brand voice to communicate with your clients and prospects. Because if it's not the case, your clients and your audience will move to another website because today a lot of people are locked at home, so you don't have the opportunity to meet human agents. So it's very important to be empathic in your messages.
So, Louis, just to come back to you very quickly on this one, then I'll open it up to the others. Is it more a case of making sure we've got the messaging and the system of automations right? So, like in your example, if someone's asking, when will my parcel be here? Surely that should trigger what's your order number? Let me look it up, rather than a couple of days. Or is it more a case of putting the right type of chatbot on each page in front of each customer, so you're recognizing returning, or you're recognizing they're on the delivery page, or they're on the home page, or so forth? Where do we, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, for someone who's just about to get started with automation, where should they start?
So first, before talking about automation, you need to know how to segment all your messages by languages, by topics, by communication channel. Because so I'm partner manager for Europe, but I was also customer success manager for some of our French clients. Mm-hmm. And my clients were like, automation. So, okay, but first, do you know how to segment your messages? Do you know your audience? So I think the first step is to know how to split your clients by groups, and then we can talk about automation. Because for sure you can automate, but if you don't answer to the good question, if you don't find the good tone in a certain way, it's going to be a very bad experience for your clients and prospects. And all the more if they spend a lot of money on your website, it's very important to know your clients.
And I suppose at the very simplest, it's if we haven't segmented, we don't know that 50% is about delivery and pre-order and 20% is about delivery post-order. We might end up creating an automation that's about picking the right product, whereas actually that's not what is going to make the biggest difference.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a very good example, because at Gorgias, you can automate answer if there is a tracking link, if there is not a tracking link. And it's very important to segment your database between these two categories, because if you are just like, okay, no worries, you're going to receive your order in the next few days. Okay, so it's a bit frustrating because I don't know where is my order and I spent 200 euros on your website. And if you have, okay, so hey, Louis, so no worries, your order number, blah, 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 is on its way. You should receive it in 5 days. And also, let's imagine you have a loyalty solution. You can say, and in addition to that, I would like you to know that you have, I don't know, 5 loyalty points, and then in 5 points you're going to win, I don't know, this cosmetic or something like this. So even if you have very basic questions, so for sure you can automate, but whenever you have a question, it's a real opportunity to have an interaction with your clients and your audience. So even if it's just a basic questions, shipping status, you have the opportunity to share something else with your clients. And today, if you just have automation, it's not possible. So it's very important to find the good mix between, as mentioned, empathy and automation. Because if it's just automation, it's not going to be a good strategy.
No. We've let Louis kind of rave there about the what we should be doing. Guys, those of you who are, the rest of you, do you have opinions on the whole live chat, the automation side of things?
I would say in general, how we're looking at chatbots for our customers is like those who are doing it the best way, at least according to my experience, is those who look at it a bit like what's it called, a receptionist? Is it called, what's the name of it when you call to some kind of company and somebody's, So looking at it that way to see, okay, what do we need? Do we have a question about product? Do you have a question about delivery? Do we want to talk to customer success or customer service? So a very kind of short path, but just to very answer one question and we know where you're heading, and then pretty quickly go to, I think that's also what Louis said, going to a specific person, to a specific chat or a phone number that they can call on, so they don't have to get down to a path of 5 or 6 or 10 steps before they can go there. So just a quick way of kind of dividing those visitors on your website to figure out what the purpose is and what they need. That's at least the best cases that I see in our customers, their experiences of using chatbots. I know that the idea of a chatbot is that a chatbot can do everything and answer every question, but I just haven't seen that in practice yet, at least. But more looking at a quick receptionist, just answer a quick question and then direct people to where they're going. Maybe it's a chat, maybe it's a phone number, maybe it's information about how you return a product.
And Lucy, do you see, obviously Louis used the example of kind of the high-end purchases, and that's where you spend your days is amongst high-end purchases. Do you find live chats an important part for your clients?
Honestly, it hasn't really played that much of a part, but given that most of my clients are going from either zero or like sub $10,000 a month, exactly what Louis said around knowing how to segment your list, that's a bigger problem because they don't have the volume of inquiries. That becomes a bigger problem later on in the business when the load of the business is too heavy to carry on the shoulders. And it's like, all right, I need to get out of customer service. How do I do that? I need to lighten load of this. And the way to do that is to go, what kind of responses am I getting? How can I template these? Who can do the work for me? Either a VA or an automation. And that's something that we do later on, but it's not something that we usually typically focus on at the start.
I think during that kind of doesn't surprise me, because I think during the podcast with Lucas, he was saying that, and Louis, correct me when I get this stat wrong, something like only 20% of websites have a live chat live anyway. We're still very early in the adoption stages of this, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. So today, it's very funny because everybody is talking about live chat, but in reality, there are only 20% of merchants with a live chat on their website. But it's interesting to have a conversation, to have you, Lucy, because I think I do agree with you, because the other day I had a call with a luxury brand, and they have a problem about conversion rate, because basically they just launched their website and everything was very expensive. So it was at least £500. And basically Facebook ads, Instagram ads will be great to have more people on your website. But when you are about to spend £500 on a website, for sure you need some advice to say, okay, should I buy this? Or what is your support? Or can you help me for that? I have some questions. And the live chat is a good way to have this conversation directly, because when I'm on your website, so I'm ready to buy something, so the live chat is a good strategy to have a conversation directly. But be careful, because when you are a live chat, you need to have a real strategy behind. Because if you don't have a good customer service team behind, if you are not reactive with your clients and prospects, it's going to be very frustrating for everybody. So for sure, live chatbot is a very good strategy. But I would say the first step is to know your audience, to segment this audience, and then we can talk about live chat and chatbots.
Cool. Okay. Well, look, guys, all of you out there watching, you'll have seen that I think we just did a great job of answering Ben's question. So if you've got a question for the panelists, get it in, and I will do my best to get it answered. I want to kind of take a step away from live chat, and I want to come to you, Ian, and ask you about, because we've talked about kind of, Lucy very clearly made the point, October isn't peak yet. We've still got time to test. We're still in prep mode for peak. And something which you and I have talked a lot about, Ian, is about how, just like live chat can be a quick improvement for our performance, if we've got if it's the right decision for our business and so forth. Improving our on-site search can do the same thing, can't it? And it's not a big code rewrite. It's not like we suddenly decided to redesign the checkout. It's quite a simple implementation, and it will, if we implemented it right now, it will build as we go through the season, won't it?
Yeah, that's correct. And just to add to what the guys have been saying about live chat as well, searches are the highest converters on your website. So, typically you've got 10 to 30% of your users are using on-site search. And if that's a rich experience and an engaging experience, they're going to convert 2 to 4 times higher than anything else on your site. But what they're also telling you is they're giving you the data that can help power the chatbots. Because if they're searching for certain things, and particularly if they're looking for deliveries or customer service or anything that is service related on your site, and that's going into the search box, and that's a regular thing, that's telling you that people are probably getting a little bit lost on your site or they need help. So that's probably a trigger initially to then talk to Gorgias and his company and the other companies out there that do that type of thing, because your site is obviously not giving them what they want. You can do direct hot links and sort of redirects and stuff like that to those areas, but generally those people will want to engage with a human being to guide them through that either purchase process or a problem they may have with their orders. So search sort of does the same thing, but it's sort of anonymized. And the great thing about that sort of personalization and recommendations you can get from that anonymous data is it's your shoppers are guiding other people to what they want. So if someone comes onto your site, they generally know what they're looking for, generally. And they're going to put that keyword into your search box. You're going to make some recommendations to them, and hopefully they're going to find what they're looking for based upon what's popular, what's converting, etc., etc. So what can you do to make your site convert better now, even though we're sort of ramping up to peak? Is it's a very quick change if you're on a Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, because you've literally got a connector with Klevu that gets you up and running within minutes. If you've got nothing complicated or complex that you want to do with those search results, you can simply index it, and you can then get the AI and the personalization running for you. Within 24 hours, you're building. Within a month, you've got all that great information, giving people more relevant results when they're searching for keywords. So it's that speed to market, and there's still time for that. And we're in Q4 from a sales perspective, and everyone's going, "Oh, Q4, have we cannibalized everything because of all the good stuff that's been going on over the summer?" It's still really important now that people can get and change their on-site search. But those that are looking for January, it's also still an important time, because there'll be a lot of learnings for them during this potential peak period, where they can start to apply that for the new year in 2021, especially if people have started to pivot more online and they've seen it increased. And then there's those companies that are not necessarily driven by this peak period, because their peak period is different. Everyone's talked about the new essentials, so garden equipment, DIY equipment, things like that, all the stuff that everyone went out and bought in their droves during lockdowns, because that's all they could do. They couldn't go out and do anything, so they did the houses up, they did arts and crafts, they did all sorts of stuff. Those sorts of things are what people will be fixing now, ready for when their peak is coming in the springtime again. So fixing search is super, super important, and giving people an engaging experience that's making recommendations to them as they're typing is super important. Instead of just a little list that drops down on your website, people go, "Oh, I'll go navigate," and they'll probably get lost. And then they'll have a poor experience. So if you've got a great engaging search experience, it's really simple to implement, then why wouldn't you do that?
I think, for me, one of the interesting things about both the live chat and the on-site search piece is we can put it in place right now without too much hassle. Right? It's not too big a coding issue. It's not too big if you've already got a customer service team, we're okay on the live chat front. But both of those will help improve things over Q4. And they're also going to mean that when you get to Q1 and you've got time to analyze, you've got this huge wealth of data that you can use to make next year bigger. So it's kind of like it gives on two fronts. It gives you an uplift for Q4, and it gives you it just gets on with collecting a whole host of data, so you can from Q1 on improve things further. So I think, yes, certainly going back to my original question, we should still be talking about UX improvements in October. But I want to pivot it a bit to more the softer side of things. We've talked about two big implementations we can make. There will be people watching this who are going, But my IT team, they lock us down from the 1st of September and we're not allowed to change anything. And one of, I think, the key points for me that's come across in this month of podcast interviews, and which I wanted to make sure we brought out today, is that a lot of UX improvements are not about code changes. They're about wording changes. They're about clever little things we do to give people the right impact, the right messaging, both on-site and off-site, which is what I talked about a lot in the podcast episodes with both Mogens and Lucy. So, Mogens, I guess we were all about top tips for navigation and category pages and so forth. What would be on your list of, for even those who've got that code locked down at the moment, what should they be doing right now to improve the next couple of months?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say there's actually one very interesting thing right now for kind of all online stores, and that is to kind of look at this pandemic and see if there's any opportunities that they haven't kind of seen yet. I've talked to a lot of shop owners where there's a part of their product selection that they are right now selling way more of than they are normally, because some products are just more kind of, on demand right now, because people are maybe more at home, people are wearing face masks, people are doing, the behavior is different. So for example, it could be toys for kids. I have never bought so many toys for my kids as I have the last 3 months. So if you have, I don't know, some kind of, you are like Walmart, you're selling everything, maybe you should highlight the toys more on your homepage. And also like smaller websites as well, they maybe have a part of their product selection that they normally don't sell that much, but maybe there are some related products they should consider adding to their product selection that might give them a huge boost in sales in this quarter, but they just don't know it yet. So, and that doesn't require any code. That requires buying some new products or at least trying to be aware of this. But I think it's a very interesting kind of opportunity that right now the world is different than it is normally. That happens very rarely. So try and see if you can take an advantage of that. So I think that's one part. And to answer your question a bit more precisely here, I would say
no, that was a great answer.
I just think that's a great opportunity that people sometimes miss the first part here, right? Because it is an opportunity right now that you only have like every 10 or 20 years that stuff like this happens in the world. Other than that, about the wording, I would say there's a lot of great smaller examples. If I should give just one, I would say if you're selling something related to clothes, fashion, anything like that, at least from my usability test, there was like one deal breaker, or at least one thing that if that were on the website, people were, buying a lot more, and that is information about the fit. So if you're selling a t-shirt, if you're selling a shirt, if you're selling trousers, let the visitor know, for example, what is the height of the model? So the model that you're seeing at the image right now, how tall is he or her? If he is like, 185 centimeters, and I can see he's wearing a medium, I know that is going to fit me perfectly. Or also, if the product is small or big in size, this is awesome information to have, because if I'm buying a shoe and I can see it's a bit like big in size, I should maybe go a bit smaller there. So there are so many small details about products that just makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's not improving the conversion rate directly that much, but what I see and what I hear when I talk to shop owners is that it's normally improving the return rate a lot. And that's also really, really valuable, because at the end of the day, we want to see how much revenue we have like after people have maybe returned the products. So if you can improve, or that is reducing the return rate, that's also really valuable. So information about fit in general, information about what's in the product. If you're selling cosmetics, let people know if it's like paraben free, if it's if it's organic. All this stuff can help a lot also in the conversion and in the returns.
It is amazing how often those details get missed off. And I would add something to your first tip around putting the right products on the homepage, the ones that are selling now, which is what I've seen with a couple of retailers is that the new customers are buying different to the existing customer base. And so you can't just look at what's our top 10 best-selling products to get that data. You might need to do some jiggery pokery about, look at what this age bracket's buying or what the new customers are buying to work it out. But there's probably almost certainly some little nuggets of gold in there. Lucy, we spoke all about personas, which is all about getting the messaging right. So which bits would you be suggesting people focus on at the minute?
All of them. Yeah, I think this is a really interesting time for distinctions around language, particularly because people are going to be communicating with you more. And also, especially as the intensity around Christmas ramps up, so too does their desire to get on the phone and find out where their order is. So I always really like to take these opportunities to get on the phone as much as I can, because it's very rare that you'll actually have someone that is like, I need to talk to someone, like my order's not here or whatever has happened. And you can get so many subtle distinctions through having just a regular conversation. It's not scalable in the slightest, but like some of my biggest, acquirement of or acquisition of new depth about who my customers were came from having a conversation and going, oh, like she drops her consonants. She doesn't pronounce it and and really strongly in the way she speaks. I wonder why that is. Or noticing that she has a certain twang to her voice, and it's like, where did you say, what order was where did you come from again? And then looking into who she is. There's so many little pathways that you can find out more about the customer and then just slightly tweak the site to reflect that, especially if, for those of you that are watching, your first million, even sub your first 500K, really you can build up to $1 million a year selling to just one person. And so the sharper and tighter that you get that messaging on the homepage or everywhere else on the site, the more likely you are to convert them.
We so often forget to go down and actually talk to the customer, the actual individual. We've already talked about learning from site search and learning from the live chat, but actually listening to her. Is there someone in the background who I love it. Mogens is looking for power. He will hopefully be back. I was like, where's he gone? Oh, I see there's a message. I'm so easily, everyone out there watching, I'm so easily distracted by the chat box. Please send me some questions because you'll get to see me losing track of what I'm trying to talk about again. Mogens is back. Excellent. But it is the case that we forget to talk to the actual customer. We talk, we look at the big messages, but we forget about those one-on-ones. And if you want to niche or niche down, understanding that, visualizing that one person can be so powerful. Ian, with on-site search, can we get into things like dialects? Which I know people don't quite type it.
Yeah, so in a certain degree, because what NLP does, the natural language processing, is it's looking for the inflection of what you're typing. So it's looking for the way that you're typing a particular query through. Everyone's heard about long tail queries in SEO and sort of PPC. Well, actually, you can start doing that now, where you can actually get more conversational in your searching on with good systems on sites that are applying it. And what NLP does is it allows you to break down those strings and those queries. But then it also does data enrichment on the back end. So there's a whole catalog of different phrases for different words. So if you're looking for, a classic one is iPhone, isn't it? With all the different hyphens and capitals and capital I, capital P and all that sort of stuff. Traditionally, you'd have to create a synonym to do that. And it was a bit of a manual process. And the modern systems now are actually being able to pick up on those differences and those subtleties in language and across multiple different European languages as well. So, and obviously we're going to roll that out on a global basis with other types of languages. So yes, you can start to get that inflection of what people are starting to talk about, and then return results that, even if they spell it slightly wrong, or if it's said in a slightly different phrase, you're bringing out the words that then match up to the products in the database. And it's sort of quite a clever thing, really. So yeah, I suppose the short answer is yes.
And it's then kind of going, then you can take that knowledge and you can put it into your marketing, which is what we spent quite a lot of time chatting with Lucy about on the show was about how customer personas and improving conversion rates isn't just about what happens on the actual website. It's about preparing the customer ready to get to the website, which could be using the words and the phrases they use, could be talking about their pain points and so forth. So I think it's always, I always think it's quite sad when CRO gets drilled down to doing some A/B tests, because there's so much more to it.
So we use location data if someone hasn't identified themselves, so we can go down to the sort of the local IP and start to see if that person's coming back through that particular IP range. So there's an element of personalization you can apply there. The best personalization is when someone identifies them and they log into their account, because you've then got all the other stuff that everybody else on this call has got that can be applied from a persona and demographic perspective, and then you can get super personal, and then you can market to them, and then you can return results within the bar, which are super relevant because it's not something that they've purchased in the past. It's something that complements maybe what they've purchased in the past, and then you're getting super clever. So I think it's really important.
I have a quick question for Ian. Is it okay, Chloe?
Yeah, it's cool. Go ahead.
About the site search. So I guess your product have this kind of on the fly suggestions when you're writing something. So do you see that your customer site search is changing at the moment because consumers are searching for different things than they normally are searching for? For, I don't know, if you're putting in SAN and you normally search for, I don't know what starts with that, but you're looking for a sanitizer because that's like a lot of people are looking for that right now. But normally that will be another top hit that wouldn't be sanitizer, but it would be something else that I cannot.
Like hand something. Yeah.
A SanDisk memory card. I'll give you one. There you go.
Yeah, something like that. So do you see a change there, and do you kind of update that on the fly, or is it like on based on history for the last year or so? Can you kind of update it so it's only based on the last month or so, or the last few months, or how does it work?
So it's constantly evolving and learning. So if you put SAN in, it's going to when you look at a Klevu search box. So probably a good one to look at for everybody. There's a couple. I noticed there was people that were selling pajamas. If you go onto trotters.co.uk, that's children's wear. Start searching around there. Skinsociety.me is another fantastic one, and we also work with Paya Skincare. So it's PAISKINCARE. If you go onto any of those sites and start typing things like FAC, it's going to start thinking, okay, well, typically you're searching for face. Yeah, so it will start returning products that are relevant to people that have searched for face creams when they've started searching for face. Yeah. So if you look at Chloe's doing a live thing, you've got face suggestions, FaceTime face. So you've got product results, which are most popular products based upon when people search for face, but then it's also making product suggestions on the left-hand side there. So if you're putting in SAN, for example, it could be hand sanitizer, it could be, whatever. So here, they've only got one product, which is, SAN related, and that's probably in the description of that particular product. So yeah, the search results will adapt to however much or however little of the search query you're putting in, and then obviously then bring forward the most relevant results to people that have searched for that in the past.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that was my question.
That was cool. That was good. That was a good question. That's the first time I've done that on this technology, so I'm feeling quite proud of myself now. I managed to have everyone on screen, and I think the audience saw the screen grab, so that's cool. I hope. Maybe you guys didn't. Maybe you got something really random. In which case, apologies for that. But for those of us on, you can see we got to see what Python's skincare looked like. So, if let's stick with the people who can't do the big tech changes, where should we start? Where on the website should we start our focus for improving the conversion rates? Do we start on the homepage? Do we start in closer to the checkout? How do we work out where to start if we want to start playing around with words and images and products? Anyone is welcome to jump in on this.
I'm going to have two answers because before Gorgias, I used to work at Nosto, personalization and recommendation solution for e-commerce. So I was partner manager for France, and for sure today, So it's very important today. It's to personalize every page, because you're going to pay a lot of money on Facebook ads, Instagram ads, etc. So if you know how to segment again your audience or people who are coming to your website, basically you can personalize everything. So recommendation, landing page, pop-up, etc. And I think today it's as mentioned, it's very important to find a way to provide one website by customer or by prospect. And if I come back to my Gorgias position, so it's interesting because most of the time, for sure, merchant will spend a lot of time on product design, and for sure it's very important. But customer service is as important as your product and as your design, because as mentioned before, if you don't know how to answer your clients, if you don't come back to them, it's going to create frustration, and you just need to Google the name and to find a competitor. So yes, I think it's for sure it's a question of which page on which page you have to put your efforts, but you don't have to forget that to create a good user experience, you have to think about your product, your design, and your customer experience and your customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I also got a kind of an answer on that one, and it relates a bit to what I said in the start about what I really like about conversion optimization, and my favorite part of it, because this, to be honest, this should not be the question, where to focus, because we don't know where people should focus. Maybe they already got a live chat, and that's great, so they shouldn't maybe improve that anymore. Maybe they already got a fantastic site search, then they should not have that anymore, or put more effort into it. So they need to figure out where to kind of put their energy. At least for me, the best way to figure that out is to let the users, those who are buying at your shop, do their work and watch them doing it. It is so simple, and it doesn't take any tech. You don't need to have any developers. You only need a room and a computer, and that's it. And then you can do a user test. You can get people from your target audience to be sitting with you. You can you can even do it online or remotely now because of Corona and all this. And then the users will tell you what to focus on. Maybe you already got a great lead generation pop-up, and you don't need to optimize that anymore. Okay, great. But you don't have a clear way of explaining, your return policies, or, what kind of payments you're accepting, or stuff like that. So for me, us to be kind of, predict where people should focus is really hard, because it's so different from where they are. So I would always recommend people to do a usability test. Also, to figure out if an A/B test, if that's what people want, then don't just do an A/B test, but figure out where to do the A/B test by doing a user test, and then do a A/B test afterwards. Because otherwise, you're just driving in the dark, blindfolded. So that is like the main reason why I really love user testing. It's so simple. It does not take any developers to do the usability testing. You can do it yourself. You can also hire someone to do it, but you can do it yourself. And you almost every time get the kind of the top 70 or 80% of what you need to improve. You get that on paper right away. And then sometimes it is a techie thing you need to change. It might be the navigation. It might be your filters that you need to completely structure in another way. Or it might be a simple thing as wording, a headline in your, on the product pages or whatever it might be, adding a breadcrumb. It can be hundreds of different things, but you need to figure out what it is first. And to kind of predict that for me is impossible.
Yeah. I love the fact you've made that point of how usability testing, it sounds like such a scary phrase, but actually all it means is getting your target customers sat in front of the right device and watching them. It's, and obviously I'm going to give an example, an idea right now, which can be difficult in different areas of the world, depending on your current COVID restrictions. But if your target customer tends to hang out in a coffee shop or somewhere similar, going along and offering to buy someone a cup of coffee whilst they do something, you say, could you add your favorite product from our site into the basket, and can I watch you do it, and I'll buy you a cappuccino? That is such, if you're thinking, I don't have a room, I don't have the setup, this sounds complicated, go down to your local coffee shop if you're currently allowed, and you can do this within the regulations. And it's going to cost you a cup of coffee in an hour, or several cups of coffee in an hour, and you're going to get so much insight, so much answers. Or do what Lucy suggested and literally pick up the phone and answer some calls. Because Lucy, you must have some points of view on where we should get started.
I'm always asking my clients what the biggest challenge in their business is. And I think that's one of the hardest things as a business owner when you're in it, to actually see what's going wrong and what's going on in your business. And I think as far as like tackling the next quarter, a question that pretty much everyone needs to answer is like, what is the biggest problem in my business? Is it the fact that I can't get people to my site that are ready to buy? Or is it the fact that my site's not converting as well as it could be? Or are we experiencing drop off at checkout because X? Like, what is going on right now? And then spending time fixing that. That can take anywhere up to like a week, 3 weeks, a month, 3 months, depending on the size of the challenge. But way better for everyone who's here on this call to think seriously about tackling one major thing and get it really dialed in than to try and spread yourself really thin doing all things.
Such good advice. Right, guys, we're getting close to running out of time here. So, and you'll keep giving really good detailed answers. So I'm going to give you plenty of time for this last question, which is if you could leave the audience with one thing to do this month of October to improve the performance on their website, what would it be? Ian, I just cut you off there, so we'll start off with you.
That's fine. It's leading on from what everybody else has said. So not only do you have great analytics and tools like Klevu, but do not neglect Google Analytics and the tracking and data that Google can give you. And the reason being is there's two things on there that we always look at. It's visits with search and visits without search. That effectively gives you a picture of what's happening on your website. If you're then analyzing that data, you want to be looking at the number of visits that are coming through those, the number of pages per visits, and where the bounce rates are. Because if people are bouncing more in your non-searches than they are in your searches, then you know you need to put some work into your navigation or even your product pages. And then it's the time on site on those particular pages, the number of pages per visit within there. So it's very, very simple metrics that can give you a very quick picture of where do I need to work now in October to get it right for peak period. Yeah, so then you've got all these clever things that you can add to it. And if you haven't got time to do that, then it's something you should be thinking about for the future. But it's about, okay, understand your data, understand the path of your customers. Where are they coming in from? Are they coming in from, SEO? Are they PPC? Are they email campaigns? Is the landing page that I created for that email campaign converting right? Is the language right on that particular campaign? Yeah, and is it marrying up? Are the products correct on that particular campaign? Are they the most popular products by that particular keywords that's in the email that's driving people to that? So it's beyond what we're providing from a system perspective. It's understanding your site. It's then talking to people like Lucy to say, right, this is the one thing that I need to do, and then get that fixed. And if it's a bit of technology, talk to us and to Gorgias as well. Yeah. If it's UX, usability, Mogens, and just fix it. And do one thing and work it out.
And I would like to add something, because for sure Black Friday, Cyber Monday is coming. You just have 1 month. But if you are on Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, or another platform, you can find a good technology. Just to give you an example, at Gorgias, it takes 10 minutes to connect Gorgias to your Shopify and your different communication channels. And I'm familiar with Klevu. I do know you have a deep integration with Shopify, Magento as well. And I think today it's very important to find a solution for your e-commerce platform, because your e-commerce platform was a huge decision for your business, and you have a lot of applications that are made for this platform, and it's the best way to be ready in a few days to fix some problem about your customer service, about your search, etc.
Cool. Mogens, your last thought?
Yeah. Well, I haven't talked that much about what I actually do or sell other than doing these usability tests. But in this last tip, I'll actually mention it because I think it makes a lot of sense. So in the core, what we do in Sleeknote is that we help online stores in getting more email subscribers. So collecting this through pop-up, slide-ins, sticky bars, everything like this. And in October, you probably get a lot of visitors on your website. A lot of them maybe not buying because they're waiting for Black Month or Black Week or even Black Monday or Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. So you have a lot of visitors that are probably not buying right now. Get their email address. Put them on your list, and then you can really begin to sell to these people when it's time for November, when it's in peak. So that will be my tip now for October. Try to really build your email address right now. That is a great month to doing that.
I'll second that, and I can't believe we made it to 55 minutes and failed to mention getting email signups. I apologise to everyone for that. That's my bad. We should have been talking about that far sooner. So, Mogens, thank you for bringing that one up. Lucy, the last word to you. What would your advice be to our audience?
An extension on finding the biggest challenge in your business right now. I'm always saying this to my clients, but you can't come up with good ideas around solving those problems or even identifying them if you're just staring at your screen. It's kind of like when you're trying to figure out why your Facebook ads aren't working and you stare at the ads manager. That's not helpful. Get off your computer as much as you can and go out and go be in the world and think deeply about these problems, because by creating that space between electronics and the problem, you give yourself the opportunity to see it from a new perspective. And if you really want to be good at CRO, like really, really masterful and skillful at it, the trick is to think deeply about the problem.
Excellent. Thank you, Lucy. Right. Well, everyone out there watching, in a second, you'll be able to see the lovely slides again, because I'm just going to remind you of who our lovely panelists have been. So we've had Lucy from 10,000 Customers, and you can go to 10,000customers.com to find out more about her. We've had Mogens Moller from Sleeknote, and that UX video series we mentioned is at sleeknote.com/240-user-tests, or just go to sleeknote.com for everything else about them. We've had Scarr, Head of Sales UK at Klevu. You can get a first 14-day free trial at klevu.com. And we've had Lavedan from Gorgias. And as we mentioned earlier, you can get 1 month free because you've been on this webinar if you email louisl@gorgias.com. Feel free to scribble all that down right now, but we will be including all those details in the email you're going to get with the replay about this episode. This isn't an episode, this is a webinar. Come on, Chloe, really? So you're going to get that in the email follow-up about all of this. Huge thanks to all of you for tuning in and watching. Huge thanks to my panelists. Couple of messages for you all before we say goodbye, though. If you haven't already caught it, we've had our Black Friday Cyber Monday episode went live last Wednesday, getting a lot of listens. We got 9 e-commerce experts. That's the 8 you can see and me sharing their top tips for Black Friday success. Lucy is one of them. The sneak preview I will give you is it's all in the preparation. And you've still got time to prep. So listen to that now, and you will build a much better Black Friday for your business. And then the last thing to say is we're now in October, which means a new theme on the podcast. So this month is all about advertising. Today, our Google Shopping campaign episode has gone live with the brilliant Mark Hammersley, who's one of the Hammersley brothers. If you listen to their podcast, there are a lot of clever hacks and clever tips. See, Lucy's already writing down that she needs to go and watch that one. That went live this morning. It's a really good episode. Then we're getting deep into Facebook ads over the following 2 weeks with Sarah Joffrin from Nest Performance, who's going into strategies for Q4 and a lot on clever audience targeting. Then we go with Kevin Urrutia, who runs a #1 Facebook ads agency over in the US, and he's talking about creative, and that is super clever. Combine those 2 episodes and your Facebook ads are going to be awesome this quarter, I promise you. They're 2 really awesome episodes. I'm gutted I can't put them out now, but you're going to have to wait. Sorry, everybody. And then we round off the month talking about Pinterest ads, because it's always nice to talk about something a bit different. The webinar for that's on the 3rd of November, so you can sign up for that from tomorrow. So thank you, guests. Thank you, audience. That's it from us for today. Good luck with your Q4. And apparently we've already inspired Ben to go to the coffee shop and do some user tests. So do it safely, Ben. Social distancing all the way. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
And I've successfully